Cinnamon rolls are a beloved treat. These sweet, gooey pastries have been a favorite for generations, enjoyed by people of all ages. Whether it's the soft, fluffy dough or the rich cinnamon sugar filling, there's something irresistible about a freshly baked cinnamon roll. They are sweet and delicious. The icing on top adds an extra layer of sweetness that makes each bite a delightful experience. It's no wonder that cinnamon rolls have become a staple in bakeries and homes alike. Recently, a new way to make cinnamon rolls went viral on TikTok. This social media platform has become a hub for food enthusiasts and home cooks, sharing innovative and creative recipes. The viral cinnamon roll recipe has taken the internet by storm, with millions of views and countless recreations. People love trying new recipes they find online. The convenience of having step-by-step instructions and visual guides makes it easier than ever to experiment in the kitchen. Families and friends are coming together to bake and enjoy these delicious treats, creating memories and traditions. This recipe makes cinnamon rolls easier to create at home. With simple ingredients and straightforward steps, anyone can make bakery-quality cinnamon rolls in their own kitchen. So gather your ingredients, roll up your sleeves, and let's get baking. The joy of making and sharing these sweet treats is just a recipe away. Before you begin, gather all your ingredients. This step is crucial to ensure a smooth baking process. By having everything you need within arm's reach, you can focus on the joy of baking rather than scrambling to find items at the last minute. Having everything ready makes baking easier. It allows you to follow the recipe without interruptions, ensuring that each step is executed perfectly. This preparation can make the difference between a good bake and a great one. For this recipe, you will need flour, which forms the base of your dough. Make sure to measure it accurately to get the right consistency. Sugar, which adds sweetness, and yeast, which helps the dough rise and gives it that fluffy texture. Don't forget the milk, which adds moisture and richness to the dough. Butter, which adds flavor and tenderness, and eggs, which provide structure and richness. Cinnamon is the star of the show, giving these rolls their signature warm and spicy flavor. And finally, powdered sugar, which is used for the icing that tops these delightful rolls. You may also want vanilla extract and salt. The vanilla extract enhances the flavor, while a pinch of salt balances the sweetness and brings out the other flavors. These ingredients are easy to find at the grocery store. Most of them are common pantry staples, so you might already have them at home. If not, a quick trip to the store will get you everything you need to make these delicious cinnamon rolls. First, warm the milk. This step is crucial as it helps activate the yeast, which is essential for the dough to rise properly. Use a thermometer to ensure the milk reaches a temperature of about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius. If the milk is too hot, it can kill the yeast, and if it's too cold, the yeast won't activate. Pour the milk into a small saucepan and heat it gently over medium heat. Stir occasionally to prevent a skin from forming on the surface. Once the milk reaches the desired temperature, remove it from the heat and let it cool slightly if necessary. Next, mix the warm milk with yeast and sugar. The sugar acts as food for the yeast, helping it to grow and multiply. Sprinkle the yeast over the surface of the milk and add a tablespoon of sugar. Stir gently to combine. Let this mixture sit for about 5-10 minutes. During this time, the yeast will begin to activate, and you'll notice bubbles forming on the surface. This is a good sign that the yeast is alive and working. Let this mixture sit for a few minutes. This resting period allows the yeast to fully activate and start producing carbon dioxide, which will help the dough rise. You'll know the yeast is ready when the mixture becomes frothy and bubbly. If you don't see any bubbles, it might mean that the yeast is old or the milk was too hot or too cold. In that case, you might need to start over with fresh yeast and properly warmed milk. In a separate bowl, combine flour and melted butter. The flour provides the structure for the dough, while the melted butter adds richness and flavor. Measure out the flour carefully, using a spoon to fill the measuring cup and leveling it off with a knife. Melt the butter in a small saucepan or microwave until it's completely liquid. Pour the melted butter into the bowl with the flour and mix until well combined. The mixture should be crumbly and slightly moist. Add the yeast mixture to the flour mixture. Pour the frothy yeast mixture into the bowl with the flour and butter. Use a wooden spoon or a spatula to stir the ingredients together until they start to form a dough. The dough will be sticky at first, but it will become smoother as you continue to mix. Make sure all the flour is incorporated and there are no dry spots left in the bowl. Mix until a dough forms. At this point, you can switch to using your hands to knead the dough directly in the bowl. Kneading helps develop the gluten in the flour, which gives the dough its elasticity and structure. Continue to knead the dough for about 5-7 minutes or until it becomes smooth and elastic. If the dough is too sticky, you can add a little more flour, a tablespoon at a time, until it reaches the right consistency. Knead the dough for a few minutes until it is smooth. Transfer the dough to a lightly floured surface and continue to knead it by hand. Use the heel of your hand to push the dough away from you, then fold it back over itself and give it a quarter turn. Repeat this process, adding more flour as needed to prevent sticking. The dough should become smooth, elastic, and slightly tacky to the touch. Next, roll the dough into a rectangle. Use a rolling pin to flatten the dough into a large rectangle about 1/4 inch thick. The size of the rectangle will depend on how thick you want your cinnamon rolls to be. Make sure the dough is evenly rolled out, with no thick or thin spots. If the dough springs back as you roll it, let it rest for a few minutes to relax the gluten. Sprinkle cinnamon and sugar over the dough. Roll the dough tightly. Mix together ground cinnamon and sugar in a small bowl, then sprinkle it evenly over the surface of the dough. Be generous with the cinnamon-sugar mixture, as this is what gives the cinnamon rolls their signature flavor. Starting from one of the long edges, roll the dough up tightly into a log. Use your fingers to pinch the seam closed, so the roll doesn't unravel. Cut the roll into individual cinnamon rolls. Use a sharp knife or a piece of dental floss to slice the log into even pieces, about 1-2 inches thick. If you're using dental floss, slide it under the log, cross the ends over the top, and pull tight to slice through the dough. This method helps keep the roll's shape intact. Arrange the slices cut side up on a baking sheet or in a greased baking pan. Place the rolls in a greased baking pan. Make sure the rolls are evenly spaced in the pan, with a little room between them to allow for rising. Cover the pan with a clean kitchen towel or plastic wrap, and let the rolls rise in a warm place for about 30-45 minutes or until they've doubled in size. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius, while the rolls are rising. Once the rolls have risen, bake them in the preheated oven for 20-25 minutes or until they're golden brown and cooked through. Let the rolls cool slightly before serving, and enjoy your homemade cinnamon roll masterpiece. Preheat your oven to the correct temperature. Place the pan of cinnamon rolls in the oven. Bake for the recommended time. The rolls are ready when they are golden brown. Let the rolls cool slightly before adding icing. While the rolls are baking, make the icing. Whisk together powdered sugar, milk, and vanilla extract. You can add more milk if the icing is too thick. Pour the icing over the cooled cinnamon rolls. These cinnamon rolls are best served warm. Enjoy them for breakfast or as a sweet treat. You can share them with friends and family. Everyone loves a homemade cinnamon roll. This easy recipe makes delicious cinnamon rolls. You can impress your friends with your baking skills. Try this viral TikTok recipe today.